This is Jerome Corsi. Today it is Tuesday. It's October 22nd, 2024. Thank you for joining us here at thetruthcentral.com. You can find me on X at Corsi Jerome1 and on Substack, JeromeCorsiPhD.substack.com. God's Five Stones we are continuing to expose the algorithms in the state elections. That's GODS, no apostrophe there. 5, you spell out 5, F-I-V-E, in stones, STONES.com. And we appreciate your donations. We're continuing to look at the algorithms in the various states. We've now found algorithms in New York, New Jersey, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. We're finding it in Arizona and Texas. We'll be reporting all of this. The Arizona and Texas reports are in the works right now, and hopefully we'll get those out later this week or early next week. It seems like the algorithms are everywhere we're looking, and what they permit is the creation of voters that don't exist to get real IDs from the state board of election and can be used in a mail-in ballot scheme. False ballots filed by mail order. Mail order ballot scheming is really the major thing we're going to have to be vigilant for in this election to make sure the Democrats don't attempt another steal. They'll probably attempt it, but let's make sure they don't succeed this time. Okay, now, if we look here in the news, I want to report on several things. I want to start out with that Archbishop Vigano in Italy has issued a letter, an open letter to American Catholics. We've been working on this with the Archbishop for weeks now, and I just received it this morning, and it is an open letter to American Catholics on the eve of the 2024 presidential election. And Archbishop Vigano begins, "Dear faithful American Catholics, I'm addressing all of you a few days before the presidential election that will call millions of Americans, citizens, to the polls. Even in conditions of relative normality, the exercise of the vote is your moral duty, through which you cooperate in the first person in choosing the person who will lead the nation for the next 4 years. But in this coming electoral round, just as in 2020, and indeed much more so, you are not simply called to choose between two candidates who happen to be on different political sides, but who both nevertheless have the common good at heart in compliance with the Constitution and law. No, in this election, you must choose between two radically opposed ways of conceiving the government of your nation. You're called to choose between democracy and dictatorship, between freedom and slavery. On one side, we have candidate Donald J. Trump, who, despite serious problems in his positions, especially in the matter of abortion and assisted procreation, has as his objective the common good and the protection of the fundamental freedoms of citizens. In Donald Trump's America, every Catholic can practice their faith and educate their children in it without interference from the state. On the other hand, we have a candidate and a party that promotes everything that directly opposes the faith and morals of the Catholic Church. In Kamala Harris's America, Catholics, but also Protestants, are considered fundamentalists and to be marginalized and eliminated, and their children are considered the property of the state, which arrogates it to itself the right to lead them astray from an early age in both body and soul. Trump's America can become great and prosperous again. Harris's America is destined for invasion and for the moral, social, and economic destruction, the most ferocious dictatorship. And the letter goes on. It's quite strong. In the last 4 disastrous years of the Biden-Harris administration, we've had a puppet in the White House and a corrupt and incompetent vice president who has never stopped lying and deceiving voters about her past and her future. Power is managed by the criminal deep state, whose names and faces we now know, that is responsible for the destruction of your great nation and to ensure that the crisis is endless. New war scenarios are continuously opening up, conflicts that no one actually wants except for those who make enormous profits from them, sacrificing human lives and compromising international stability. It's incredible. One more paragraph. You have seen what the Democrats, that is the woke far left, have been capable of in 4 years. Imagine what they will be able to do instead of Biden's numerous stand-ins, his vice president is elected. The most scandalous and unimaginable fraud, with their entourage of LGBTQ plus ministers, rigorously woke, sold out to China or to the World Economic Forum, sponsored by George Soros or Bill Gates, manipulated by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. At that point, dear American Catholics, you will not only have to go to a different rally, as Kamala would like, in order to say Christ is the Lord, because saying that will be considered hate speech, and praying in front of an abortion clinic an act of terrorism. Do not think that these are remote hypotheses. Wherever the left woke takes power, it establishes the most vicious anti-human and anti-Christian dictatorship the humanity has ever known. And we know that every time the left has come to power, it has never left through democratic means. It's an extremely powerful letter, and I think it's going to be widely received. We're going to do everything we can to promote it and to distribute it. But again, it's solid indictment. Goes on for 5 pages, and this I think is one of the key statements that in the election. It's coming right at the end of the campaign time, where we're now exactly 2 weeks from voting, and this open letter is available to Catholics. We will be putting it up on thetruthcentral.com. We'll be putting it up on gods5stones.com, and we want people to take this widely and distribute it. And we'll be putting it on X. We'll be putting it all over the place so we can get it widely seen by Catholics across the United States and across the world. This is Archbishop Vigano, as you know, was just recently excommunicated by Pope Francis for his not going along with Pope Francis's LGBT vision of the Catholic Church. This is a pivotal moment in history. I've been saying this for a long time now, but it's critically coming to a culmination, and this election could not be more important. If Donald Trump wins, we have one path to go in which we have yet hope. If Kamala Harris wins, we'll have nuclear war. It will be an unimaginable horror, and these demons that control Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party are treasonous at heart. They have no allegiance to the United States principles of freedom or the Constitution, and they are determined to do whatever they can to destroy all that is good, eradicate God, and serve their master, who appears certainly to be Satan. And this is a dark moment in human history, but we have a bright opportunity here to renounce it and say, no, we're not going to go along. It could not be more important to do that. There's several stories I want to report today. I'm following very closely the Middle East, and the Middle East is the wars are expanding. Hezbollah is under attack now in Lebanon by Israel, and Israel is going after Hezbollah's money, which is extremely interesting. Hezbollah, there was a Israeli defense spokesperson yesterday, which is Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, gave the exact location where Hezbollah has been hiding millions in gold and cash, and that is in this financial arm, which is Al-Qard Al-Hassan Association. And Israel has been taking out these banks across Lebanon, warning citizens to get out of the way. Of course, they put their major vault with millions in cash and gold in a residential area, so it will be difficult to get to. But what has been happening is that the Iran's Quds Force, which is the Revolutionary Guard, this is the elite of the Revolutionary Guard, transfer money to Hezbollah from Iranian oil sold in Syria. Iran sends suitcases of cash and gold by planes to the Iranian embassy in Beirut. Then directly it goes to Hezbollah. Hezbollah has built factories in Syria and Lebanon and Yemen and Turkey. That provides income for terrorist operations. So this financial network is the key to funding a lot of the terrorism. And what Israel is going to be doing is systematically destroying the whole financial institution of terrorist organizations through Hezbollah. Israel killed Nasrallah, who was the head of Hezbollah, and they're going to degrade Hezbollah and Hamas to the point where they're going to prevent them from rearming. I think this is a new directive in the war, and it's one that I expect Israel's next move will be to attack Iran, and that could come as soon as tomorrow. It could come any day now. Israel's prepared to attack Iran. It's announced that it will attack Iran. It's only a matter of time. And I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. I really seriously think it could be tomorrow. At any rate, we'll find that out, and Israel is certainly going to proceed with those plans. The world, of course, opposes Israel on this and says that, Israel, Biden-Harris sent Secretary of State Blinken back to Israel to try to get a ceasefire. That's not going to happen. Israel's not about to give a ceasefire. Israel's about to continue going forward until it destroys Hezbollah and it strikes a huge blow against terrorism in Iran. Okay, now the BRICS nations are now meeting, and Putin's hosting the BRICS meetings in a town in Russia. 36 countries are attending, 20 heads of state. And what they're really focusing on is de-dollarization. The dollar, in terms of its control of international trade, has gone from 80% of all international trade being conducted in the dollar down to 50%. And that's headed much lower. So Putin is talking about creating a currency that will be a BRICS currency backed by gold. I don't know that they'll achieve that in this meeting, but what they're going to achieve is the assertion that the BRICS nation are a major force, and its force is going to be one that is counterbalancing the United States. Well, we're self-destructing with this woke nonsense. Russia has been actively working with China to create the BRICS nations and the Shanghai Cooperation League. And the financial strength and the economic strength of the BRICS nations and the Shanghai Cooperation League, I think, is not to be underestimated. I'm going to start doing some writing about this right after the election. So you see that in Moscow is understanding that the United States is not long going to be the superpower it has been since the end of World War II, and that we are headed towards a multipolar world, different countries having their sway, and I think we're going to see Russia, China, and the U.S. be the three countries that are going to contend in the future, provided there is a future. Another article that I've been following here is Michael Snyder. He's reporting that there are 4 major global wars that are percolating simultaneously, and he's focusing a lot on Taiwan. The expansion of the war in Ukraine is still underway. It looks like Russia is getting North Korean troops to be armed to go to fight in Ukraine. And of course, that prompts NATO to talk about putting NATO troops in Ukraine. If these types of moves happen, it will become an open war between NATO and Russia, which will involve the United States because we're the major part of NATO. And if NATO troops get involved, I'm sure they'll also then get these long-range missiles that can hit deeply into Russia, and we'll have a full-scale war. China is also getting very militant. Xi was in military garb saying China needs to prepare for war, and China's taken a lot of aggressive steps towards Taiwan, including an exercise of invading Taiwan, in which China completely encircled Taiwan with naval ships and military troops on those ships. It's only a matter of time until China moves against Taiwan, same way China took over Hong Kong. China is intended to do this since the end of World War II, and now it's the time when the United States is weakened politically, internally, that China will probably act. With Donald Trump in the White House, these wars would never have happened. These demons that are in control produce war, pestilence, death. I'll read one more paragraph now from Archbishop Vigano because I think it's relevant. I mean, he's talking about our cities. Look at your country. Your cities have become dumb. This is Archbishop Vigano. Become dumps filled with derelicts and criminals, drug dealers and addicts, prostitutes and robbers. Your schools are dens of indoctrination and corruption from kindergarten onwards. In your courts, criminals are acquitted and innocents are imprisoned. New ideological crimes are prosecuted while illegality is tolerated and encouraged. In your hospitals, multinational corporations rule, and you are their guinea pigs to be exterminated or made chronically ill so that you will be their perpetual clients. Farmers, ranchers, and fishermen are persecuted and forced to fail, while land is grabbed by unscrupulous corporations who transform it into endless photovoltaic systems and wind turbines to power their data centers and server farms, where they collect all your data, your movements, your purchases, and your political preferences. They've gone so far as to tamper with the climate by means of sophisticated geoengineering operations and devastating arson in order to make the global warming fraud credible and impose the green transition, the increase in the cost of energy and electric cars and scooters. All this is done on evidence that consists of lies without any scientific proof, which are propagated through the servile cooperation of the regime media, ever ready to label any dissenters as conspiracy theorists. What until yesterday was dismissed as a result of conspiracy theories is now admitted by the government itself. They take away your sunlight, they poison you by seeding the clouds, they overwhelm your villages and fields with deadly hurricanes, and they kill your livestock and dry up your crops with induced droughts and devastating fires. They aim to control the entire food sector, force you to eat only what they make available to you. This is what the Agenda 2030 calls for, which has been imposed without any vote by the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. This is serious, extremely serious stuff, and it's not to be taken lightly. When someone of the significance of Archbishop Vigano speaks out like this, it's imperative for the world to listen. And American Catholics should take heed because the Catholic Church will be the subject of attack. Catholic Church is already diminished greatly in the United States by its own internal problems. The priest crisis has left Catholic Church very, very financially weakened. And parishioners have left the church as the church has gone woke. It's a dire time right now, and the economics do not look good. I'll cover that in just 1 minute, but I want to first see if there's anything else over here that I want to cover today quickly. I think the economics are really the next place to go, because you're seeing this economy slowing. We're going to have an economic crash. And if Donald Trump is elected, we'll probably have it right away. That'll be the first crisis they present. These demons present Donald Trump with, the globalists, the one new world order crowd. They will try to, I'm sure, create a debt crisis and a liquidity crisis at the same time. We're not headed for easy times. If Donald Trump does win, we have an opportunity to turn the tide. But the resistance is going to be substantial. And the resistance is going to be one that, again, is going to cause enormous disruption. So from all these different sources, I want to warn everybody that the economics here are not improving. It may, right now, the stock market may look like it's doing extremely well, and everybody says, "Oh, look at, this will never end." Well, it will end. These kinds of bubbles inevitably do burst, and this is no exception. It will burst. So the stock market yesterday and the last few days has suffered. It's from its high. It was over 43,000 points in the Dow, and yesterday was closing more in the 42,000 range. But again, I think, I'm encouraging people to be realistic that the bubble is not going to last forever. So yesterday, the stock market closed at just under 43,000 points in the Dow Jones, and the NASDAQ continues to do well. But again, I think you're going to see a concern that the inflation is going to start up again, especially if there's rate cuts, which we've done. The EU is thinking about rate cuts to ease the economies up. They're going to do everything they can to keep the economy going until the election. That's just around the corner. The Bank of America is predicting that gold is going to break $3,000 an ounce quickly. Gold's been setting record highs and drawing renewed attention from both retail and institutional investors. And the strategists at Bank of America suggest that investors, including central banks, should consider reallocating into gold as a means of protecting wealth against persistent inflation and the risks associated with excessive fiat currency creation and government borrowing. I think that's good advice, and I'm encouraging it as well. I think we're into a period of time. If you take a look at the Swiss America on our website, I'm going to tell you what gold's at today. Gold today is trading at $2,735 an ounce. That's an all-time high. Anything over $2,700. I mean, we started talking about this. Gold was at $1,900 an ounce. You'd have made over $800 an ounce had you listened to us going back months. Silver's at $34.48. Silver will appreciate faster as a percentage because it's a lower amount. And silver is going to be a very good investment for those who can't afford gold. But if you take a look at our website, you can get a copy of this book by calling 1-800-519-6268. The book is How the Coming Global Crash Will Create an Historic Gold Rush. Dean Heskin and I have written it. Dean's the head of Swiss America. I'm especially encouraging you to get your IRAs and your 401ks into a self-directed IRA in which you can invest in precious metals. We're going to feature that on the website here very quickly. If you take a look at the Swiss America offerings on the website, you'll see that there's Chris is showing you right now turning your retirement account into solid gold by moving it into a self-directed IRA that can invest in precious metals. Swiss America will show you how to do it and how to do it correctly, and they'll manage it for you. You have to have a depository trust and insurance to get your gold. You can't hold your gold in the self-directed IRA. Someone has to hold it in a depository account for you, and Swiss America has that all arranged. Just again, call 1-800-519-6268. You can also get this free Walking Liberty $50 offer. Chris is showing it to you again. If you fill out the form, you'll be contacted by Swiss America. You can get up to 250 of these coins at virtually what they are worth in silver. It's a loss leader for Swiss America, but it's a one-time offer for new customers. Additionally, there are very many different brochures and reports on the site. You can get the report on the secret war against cash exposed. Again, fill out the form on our website, and you will get that emailed to you as an ebook. You'll get it right away. The secret war against cash exposed. Spend some time on this because I think those who put some money into gold and silver right now are going to be rewarded. And I don't see the economics getting any better in the near future. Even if the Democrats win, they're going to have to face economic reality. The economic reality is we've debased the dollar. Our debt is at astronomically high amounts, and consumer debt is also not far behind. People are living on their credit cards. It does sound like desperate times, and I apologize for having to, but this is the truth. And as adults, we have to handle the truth, whether we like it or not. So I think you're going to see an economic meltdown after the election. I think you see that we're going to have a global recession. It's going to start in seriousness after the election. And I think you're going to find that the election is going to go for Donald Trump if massive numbers of people get out and vote. Because as I've shown with these algorithms, the Democrats have even the secret code placed with the intelligence agencies inside the voter registration databases and the state boards of election. It's pretty shocking news that that's the case. Chris, any final comments here before we wrap up today?
Oh, it's a funny thing you were discussing. I guess this is the minor portion of it. I know there's a lot of huge news out today. We're talking about BRICS and everything else. So I guess we'll elaborate on that this week. You did touch on Ukraine, and there was a recent 2025 victory plan pushed out by by Zelensky, and it was written about by Project Sentinel's Pete O'Brien. It's on the Project Sentinel website, projectsentinel.com, where he discusses this plan. And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, this is a very Ukraine-centric, unilateral type peace, or let's say victory plan, which relies heavily on obviously the U.S. and NATO, which also relies on them getting into NATO. So it's basically he is negotiating or trying to do battle from a position of weakness. I don't think we all know it's going to be very tough for Putin to sit down, but I don't even think Zelensky is going to sit down and negotiate, even if Donald Trump wins and sits them both together. I just don't think this. I think this guy thinks that the Western Europe and the U.S. are so behind him that he's taking all these stands to make sure that the money keeps funneling into him and whoever else he wants it to get to.
Well, I'm sure
that's my belief.
Well, the money is the key issue. If Trump comes in and cuts off the money going to Ukraine, the war will end. And it's very simple that the Obama, Biden, Harris cabal wants to keep the money laundering open in Ukraine, wants to keep the corruption going, wants to keep the war going. These people love war. They want perpetual war. They hate life. There's a hatred about these people that is profound. And again, they're as heads of state, they're taking us down the path of death and destruction. And I pray that this will stop. So in the end, God always wins. God's going to win here too. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. We're going to go through a lot more than just the election. But I pray that Donald Trump does win. Also encourage everybody in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14 to get on your knees and to repent. We've let the world get to a desperate point. And we need to have God's intervention. We need to have God hear our prayer and heal our land. I'm confident God did not create this experience for Satan to win. In the end, God will win. But in the meantime, we're going to have the judgment of God, and we deserve it. We're going to have to repent and reform. And with God's grace, we can restore peace to the world and prosperity to our land. Dr. Jerome Corsi, today it is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. We're doing podcasts on thetruthcentral.com every weekday. Thank you for joining us. God bless.